My name is Ethan. I'm 28 and I do construction work in Renton, right outside Seattle. My days are pretty predictable. I get up early in the morning, fill my beat up thermos with plain coffee, hop in my old Ford pickup, and head to the work site that needs help that day. By lunchtime, my clothes are wet from sweat, my hands are covered in dirt and cement, my back hurts in that usual spot. I build house frames, lay concrete foundations, and fix errors that no one else notices. It's straightforward labor, tough labor. When the shift is over, I go back to my little apartment that's hardly larger than a storage shed. The small kitchen area always has that stale food smell. The bed squeaks with every move. It's nothing special, but it's all mine. I don't have a lot of money saved or huge goals. I cover my expenses. On Fridays, if I'm not wiped out, I have a drink with the crew. No luxury trips, no long-term strategy, just getting through each day. I used to believe that was fine. But over time, the silence began to feel less calm and more lonely. It's been 2 years since my last date. Not because I was upset or mad. I just got worn out. Worn out from the repeated conversations, the forced grins that disappeared when folks figured out my life wasn't exciting. Worn out from being judged like an unfinished job. I've been ignored, ditched, and turned down nicely more times than I remember. After a while, I quit making the effort. Staying single seemed simpler, less risky. No hopes meant no letdowns. Then Sarah called. She's been my closest friend since high school, the type who hangs in there even when you're not easy to be around. We don't chat daily, but when we do, it's important. She jumped right in without chit-chat. "You can't just vanish from everything, Ethan," she said. "You're becoming a recluse." I laughed it off, but she kept going. She mentioned she knew someone for me. Just one blind date. If it bombed, she'd car my drinks for a month. I pushed back until I had no more reasons. What was the big deal? Another uncomfortable evening I'd brush off by the next day. Elm Coffee Roasters was on a peaceful road in the city center. Brick walls showing, different wooden chairs and tables, soft golden lights from above. It had that aroma of fresh brew and spices. I got there ahead of time, chose a spot by the window looking at the entrance. Easy to see her, easy to leave if needed. I browsed my phone, already planning polite ways out. Then she entered. She stopped right inside, taking a deep breath like she was preparing. Brown hair down to her shoulders, pushed back on one side. A baggy gray shirt with long sleeves, loose jeans. She moved like someone who tried to stay unnoticed. Our eyes contacted. She gave a quick nod and came over. "Hi, you must be Ethan," she said as she sat. Her name was Hannah. Her smile was friendly but cautious, like she'd rehearsed it. We shook hands. The talk began like these setups usually do. Work, the weather, basic stuff. She explained she was a nurse at a hospital, caring for people with burn wounds. I shared about my construction job, how I enjoyed creating something sturdy. It was okay. Not terrible, not amazing. Then she glanced at her sleeve and breathed in. "I should let you know something," she said, her tone even and direct. She pushed up her sleeve. The marks were obvious. Thick, bumpy lines from her wrist up her arm, going under the cloth to her shoulder. They weren't light or old, they were lasting. The sounds around us in the shop seemed to quiet, like everything focused on just the two of us. "No one wants to be with me," she said. Not upset, not mad, just straight. She watched my reaction, waiting. For sympathy, for unease, for the point where I'd find a reason to go. I didn't turn away. I didn't react badly. I reached over and carefully pulled her sleeve back down, covering her arm. Not because it bothered me, but because she deserved kindness. "I'm not leaving," I said, "and if I did now, I'd regret it forever." Her eyes steadied mine, searching for any sign of dishonesty. We sat quietly after that. Not uncomfortable, just meaningful. Finally, she spoke again. "You really want to hear what happened?" I nodded. "If you want to share it." She described the fire. waking to smoke late at night, the intense heat, the fear. The hall already on fire, burning her arm while trying to get out, escaping while her parents couldn't. She shared it like someone who'd told it often, calm and in control. "I made it because I was nearer the exit," she said. "Sometimes I wish I didn't." I listened. I didn't cut in. When she was done, the sounds in the shop returned bit by bit. She looked at me then, truly looked. "So," she asked softly, "why are you still sitting here?" I didn't need much time to think. "Because you get what it's like to go through something that alters you, and I think I need someone who gets that." She nodded once, just once. And right then, I knew this wasn't a simple blind date anymore. It was the start of something we both hadn't seen coming. After that evening at Elm Coffee Roasters, things didn't speed up. There were no big texts or commitments. We swapped phone numbers before parting. Outside under the gentle street lamps, the Seattle air chilly and moist. She gave a small, careful smile, like she wasn't sure what came next. I saw her head to the bus stop, sleeves down again, her body still tight. I drove home feeling something I hadn't in ages. Not excitement exactly, more like gentle interest blended with optimism. A few days passed before we messaged. I kept my phone screen down most times, reminding myself not to count on it. Then, one afternoon on a work break, I checked. "Hope your week's okay." That was all. Basic. No push. I answered similarly. From there, a pattern started. Brief notes, nothing deep. Some days a quick line, others a picture of the cloudy sky or her drink during a shift break. It felt relaxed, secure. We began seeing each other again, not labeling them as dates, just hanging out. Once at Log Boom Park by my work, another at Beth's, cafe open late. She always had long sleeves on, even on milder days. I never brought it up. She discussed her job, helping patients adjust to changed bodies. She spoke thoughtfully, but I sensed the burden beneath. One night, she messaged asking if I wanted to stroll. We met by Alki Beach Path, where mist came slow and heavy. She was less talkative than normal, hands inside her sleeves. "A colleague mentioned something today," she told me. "They said I must be tough to handle this daily." She stopped. They were being nice, but it made me think how people view me as the tragic case. She didn't message for a couple days after that. I didn't press. I sent one note. "I'm here." When she responded, it was with a sorry for dropping off. I said she didn't owe me an explanation. That's when I saw how she controlled her space, pulling away when it got too close. I got it more than she likely realized. I'd been handling things the same way forever. Different marks, same worry. A few weeks on, I mentioned a volunteer project I was part of, building a play area for children healing from burns. I said it offhand, not expecting a lot. She paused immediately. "I'm not sure I can manage that," she said. "Being with all those people." I didn't debate it. That evening, I texted, "If you show up, I'll be by your side the entire time." Saturday morning was sunny and fresh. I didn't think she'd come, but she did. She walked up to the site in a yellow shirt with short sleeves. Her marks showed clearly in the light. Her stance was rigid, hands tight at her sides. I went over and smiled. "I'm really happy you made it." She nodded, checking the group. At first, some adults glanced and looked away fast, but the kids spotted her. They didn't gawk, they asked things. One young boy showed his wrapped arm and grinned. "Your arm is like mine." Hannah stopped still. I met her gaze and nodded, showing I was there. Bit by bit, she bent down and chatted with them. She shared a story about a princess who battled fire and won. The kids paid attention like she was special. By the end, they laughed and wanted her to sign their clothes. I stayed back, observing. For the first time, she wasn't covering up. She was shining. Later, by the swings, she took me aside. "I never believed I could do this," she said, "but you being there made it work." I meant my words. You don't have to face this alone. After that day, things changed. She smiled more often. She initiated texts sometimes. We got closer, step by step. Until the night my phone rang from a strange number. It was the hospital. Hannah had passed out from being too tired. I rushed there without a second thought. When I reached her room, she seemed tiny in the bed, washed out under the lights. She tried to smile. "I didn't want you seeing me this way," she said. I sat next to her and held her hand. She cried then, not softly. She shared how tired she felt, how afraid she was that someday I'd think it was too hard. "I'm staying. I'm not leaving." I was serious, and for the first time, she allowed herself to trust it. The time after Hannah's hospital stay shifted things for us. Not dramatically, but in a calm and reliable way. I took some time off my job and spent it by her bedside, hearing the quiet machine tones and faraway noises of equipment moving in the hallways. I got her tea from the food area, even if it was awful. I read aloud when she was too worn out to speak. Sometimes we just stayed there, her hand in mine, no words needed. One afternoon, she looked right at me and said, "You don't need to keep coming." I shook my head. "I choose to." That seemed to affect her more than anything. She looked away, tears falling silently. She explained how frightened she was of relying on anyone, how, after the fire, she figured out how to manage solo because it seemed less dangerous than counting on somebody who could walk away. Allowing me to stick around scared her more than the hurt ever did. When they let her go, I drove her to her place. Her apartment was cozy and small, with lots of greenery and reading material. It felt used, but empty, like it had been ready for someone to truly enter. Before I headed out, she asked me to come with her down the hall. She opened a door and flipped the switch. The space was full of artwork, faces partly in shade, arms with marks, vivid shades breaking through dim ones. Hurt and toughness blended on each piece. She said she began creating after the fire, when talking wasn't sufficient. "These are amazing," I said truthfully. She stood at the entrance, arms folded. "Do you ever worry about being with someone who's not completely okay?" I didn't pause. "We all have our breaks. Yours don't scare me." That evening, something locked in place between us. We didn't name it. We didn't have to. Weeks went by. Summer came in gradually, the Seattle haze clearing sometimes to show clear skies. Hannah began wearing short sleeves more. Not always, but noticeably. Each time felt like a little win. We took a drive to the beach one weekend, walked without shoes on the sand, chuckled as the chilly waves hit our feet. She seemed relaxed in a fresh way. I brought her to see Susan soon after. I was anxious, I usually am, but Susan didn't hold back. She embraced Hannah, saw her arms, and said, "You're tough, I can tell." No sympathy, no prying. Hannah teared up in the car later, her hand holding mine tight. Back home, our routines mixed easily. I assisted with her art sessions for children facing tough times. She heard my work tales, even the dull ones. We made meals together, messed up together, laughed at our recipe fails. One night, on her balcony with the city glow below, she rested her head on my shoulder. "I used to think no one could care for someone like me," she said quietly. I held her nearer. "Looks like you were mistaken." She smiled, placing her marked arm on mine, not concealing it. And right then, I knew we were making something genuine. Not flawless, not simple, but strong, like the structures I put up daily. But this time, it was a shared life. By fall, Hannah and I didn't need to explain what we had. We just had it. It came out in the little details, like how she left her cup on my counter as if it fit there, how my place stopped being just a spot to crash and became a home we shared. No grand talks or vows, just steady presence, being there, not leaving. Hannah still had rough days, nights waking from dreams she held back on at first, mornings staring at her arm extra before dressing. When that occurred, I didn't attempt to solve it. I'd sit with her, sometimes hold her hand, other times just stay, letting quiet help. She said once that this was the first time someone hadn't pushed her to heal fast. That made her feel more secure than any talk could. She continued leading art for kids at Shoreline Community Center. I saw her gain more sureness each session, in front of them with sleeves up, marks out. The kids didn't see harm. They saw evidence that tough times don't win, and so did I. Each time she laughed with them, each time she urged one to try, I felt a pride I'd never known. My routine didn't turn fancy. I still rose early, still sipped lousy coffee from a thermos, still returned home achy and beat. But now, someone waited. Someone who truly asked about my day and cared. Someone who valued my basic life without criticism. One night, as we sat on the balcony seeing the sky get dark, Hannah ran a finger over a mark on her arm. I spent so long thinking these made me impossible to love, she said quietly, that they'd be all anyone noticed. I looked at her and shook my head. They're one chapter, not the book. She smiled, head on my chest. The city buzzed under us, constant and full of life. In that instant, it all felt correct. Not perfect, but true. Caring didn't hit us like a film moment. It came softly, grown from waiting, truth, and choosing to remain when going would be simpler. We didn't wipe each other's marks out. We figured out how to handle them, how to bear them without embarrassment. When Hannah once said no one wanted to be with her, she meant it. When I said I wasn't leaving, I didn't grasp how real that would be. But there, with her, sensing her even breathing and the warmth against me, I knew one thing clearly. Sometimes, caring isn't about finding someone without flaws. It's about finding someone who spots them and sticks around regardless. And that was plenty.